Well, I'd like to start by thanking the organizers for inviting me here today to speak to you. We'll be changing a little bit, moving from pharma to nutrition, and today I'll be speaking about advanced nutrition strategies for healthy aging, targeting mitochondrial health. Earlier you heard about pharmaceutical approaches to mitochondrial health. We'll be looking at how you can improve mitochondria by changing the types of food you eat, in particular some nutrition products that we've developed and that we're currently commercializing under the brand of Timeline. So I'm sure you've all heard of the 9 biological hallmarks of aging. One of the key ones is mitochondrial function, and we'll be talking about that today. And so it really starts with a decline in your mitochondrial function as you get older. You start to have basically a decline in the ability of the cell's mechanism to recycle the mitochondria, and this causes a decline in the energy inside of the cells. And this decline in cellular energy leads to a decline in cellular function, which then impacts the entire tissues that make up different organs. And then the organ systems stop functioning as optimally as they have been in the past, and this leads to various health issues, and one is decline in muscle function, and that's what we've started our company focusing on, muscle function, but it also leads to a decline in other functions, and I'll be speaking about those. So mitochondrial function dysfunction, I should say, is associated with an age-related decline in muscle function, and we've seen this originally. We ran a study where we just observed the impact in older people, age of 70 years old, active or pre-fail, meaning that they can't walk as fast. And what we saw was a decline in mitochondrial function in the tissue by using various different techniques, and then looking at specific mitochondrial complexes and the decline in those complex levels. I'll be talking about a new nutrient that's a naturally occurring postbiotic that's produced by the gut microbiome that's called urolithin A. So what you find is a number of the different foods we're consuming, and that includes pomegranates, as you see here in the photo, but as well as berries and different nuts. You have a class of compounds called allagitannins. And when you consume these allagitannins, what happens is that the gut microflora transforms them into postbiotics or metabolites, and one of these is called urolithin A. And in fact, not everybody has the right gut microflora to make this transformation and conversion. Only about 30 to 40% of the population do. And urolithin A, it acts on the mitochondria by inducing their recycling and restoring the mitochondrial function. And I'll talk to you about that in the second slide here. So urolithin A targets an essential mechanism inside the cell that's always going on inside of your cell, and that is recycling the damaged mitochondria. As we are living and breathing and performing all of the activities that we do, your cells are silently recycling your mitochondria through this process called mitophagy. As your mitochondria generate energy, what happens is that the mitochondria do get damaged, and as a consequence, they need to be recycled and reconverted into fully functioning mitochondria. And this is where urolithin A steps in as a nutrient. It basically stimulates the process of recycling and pushing the mitochondria into this mitophagy pathway. And then as a consequence, you have more active mitochondria and better functioning cells. And so if you think of the different types of nutrients that you can take to supplement your diet that might improve your mitochondrial function and hence your cell bioenergetics, it really starts with mitophagy. You really need to clear up all the damage and the debris first, and urolithin A, which we've branded in our company as Mitopure, is responsible for cleaning up that damage. But it's also one of the only products that is acting also on biogenesis. And so that's the creation of new mitochondria afterwards. And so this has a very unique position in a whole sort of dietary regimen that you would take in terms of supplementing your diet to optimize your cellular bioenergetics through mitochondrial function. So the scientific evidence behind Mitopure is really robust, and we've seen that the science translates across a number of different species, including worms, aged mice, as well as in humans. And so we've seen an augmentation in lifespan in worms by about 45%, improvement in running distance, and then in humans, we've run a number of clinical studies. The first study that we ran was a month long, and we looked at muscle biopsies. And what we saw there was by comparing those people who had taken Mitopure for a month versus those taking a placebo, we saw an increase in the genome and the gene structure, and an increase in the various gene sets. In particular, it's the mitochondria gene set here. When you're looking at this table of different colors here, what you can see is that each of the lines here represents one different participant, and each of the rows represents a different gene in a gene set. And you see an increase and an upregulation of these genes following a month taking the product. And we then moved on to other clinical studies where we looked at physiological outcome. And in the first study that we ran was in a middle-aged cohort with 40 to 65 years old who were overweight, sedentary individuals. And what we saw was after 4 months, we saw a significant increase in leg muscle strength by over 10%. And then in our last, one of our most recent studies, an older individual, 65 and older, after only 2 months, we saw an improvement in muscle endurance by close to 20%. We've also taken a look, because we get a lot of questions about whether or not that people are converters or non-converters of pomegranate juice into urolithin A as a nutrient. We ran a clinical study over in Chicago in which we gave people a glass of 8 ounces of pomegranate juice, and we then measured their urolithin A levels 24 hours later, and we compared that with the levels they would have after taking 500 milligrams of Mitopure, the dose that you saw in the previous slide that acts to improve your muscle function. And what we see is about a 6-fold increase in your urolithin A levels following Mitopure versus pomegranate juice. And what we also observed was only about 40% of the population that we examined, and that was across age groups from 20 up to 80 years of age. So it's a really uniform situation there. And we've started to move outside of just looking at muscle health and expand our research into other areas, including joint health. And it's very interesting because joint health, it works together with muscle health for overall mobility. As we get older, more and more people get osteoarthritis. And so we decided to take a look at this, and we did a research program together. This is preclinical research with the Scripps research. And we looked at the impact of urolithin A on mitophagy in joint tissues, as well as looking at different markers on blood markers of inflammation. And what we saw when we looked at mice following administration of urolithin A, and you can see this on the chart up here, is that after 250 milligrams per kilogram a day, we saw an increase in the amount of mitophagy, and this is measured by looking at very specific biomarkers found in the joint here. And this is phosphoubiquitin. And on the right-hand side, what you can see is a reduced pro-inflammatory marker called MMP that's found in the serum of these mice after taking our product. So, in terms of going beyond the muscle, we're continuing to study the muscle and how we improve it in various different situations, but we're also going and expanding this into immune health. We've started to see preclinically some interesting impacts on immune health, and so we're going to run a couple of studies looking at urolithin A impact on immune health from a mitochondrial standpoint and from an overall general effect on actual immune performance. And also we can, mitochondria has an important impact and impact on our skin health, and so we've also started a program looking at skin aging as well. And as we do our own internal programs, we do get a lot of external parties that reach out to us and ask us if they can do collaborations together. So we have a number of ongoing studies there. So today we have several studies ongoing. We have 5 ongoing, and we recently completed 2 trials. And those, we have a study ongoing also with one of our collaborators and partner, which is Nestle Health Science. We've partnered together not only on science, but also on the commercial side of taking Mitopure out to the public. We have these 2 immune studies that are going on, one which is an IRB approved already, and so we hope to launch that very soon. And then we have a study that we're planning to begin early next year, looking at patients who are post-cancer patients. And then in terms of the skin, we've run a couple of studies on the skin and shown benefits there. And we have one study that's ongoing right now. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a number of external groups that have been reaching out to us. The one immune study that I mentioned earlier to you is in post-cancer patients with a weak immune system, and so we'll be monitoring their immune system as they take a Mitopure over time and following that. And then we have groups like Harvard and Northwestern and McGill and UCLA who are all looking to explore how urolithin A can impact the not only cellular mitochondrial function, but various diseases. And so that goes outside of the sort of the setting of nutrition, but it's more nutrition for therapy, let's say as a therapy or as a joint therapy to pharmaceuticals. And today we sell our product, as I mentioned at the beginning, under the brand called Timeline. It's sold online, direct to consumers, so feel free to go to the website here at Timeline Nutrition. And yeah, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to end a little bit early and give you the time to ask them.
Thank you. Thank you. So please raise your hand. There's one. Joachim?
Yeah, I have a question. In closing, you recommended to go visit your website and buy the product, but if you do that from Germany, it's not available in Germany. So what's the reason for that? I've seen it's available in Italy and Switzerland, but not in Germany. So when will it be available in Germany?
It's a good question. We're commercializing primarily over in the US right now, and we have opened the website for some shipment from the US to certain countries here in Europe, and we're gradually doing that. So hopefully in the coming months, perhaps early next year, we'll allow other countries to order our product and ship to them.
Yeah, over there.
Urolithin, the name suggests something to do with kidney stones. Can you elaborate on the derivation of the name? And does it have anything to do with kidney stones? I mean, it sounds like it does.
I wasn't involved in the naming of the molecule. That was done many years ago. To my knowledge, it has nothing to do with kidney stones. This is one of the reasons why we branded our product Mitopure. It makes a little bit clearer understanding of how it works, and it's easier to say.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I'm curious, do you have any IP or protection rights that would prevent someone else from using your great data and sell by themselves?
We do. We have IP that we probably have close to 20 patents that are filed globally in all strategic markets, and many of them have actually granted. So yes, we do have a very strong IP position. We were the first company to begin working and researching the pomegranate and its various health benefits, and that gave us an enormous advantage.
Okay, one final question, please.
Hi, so I missed the fact, do you extract that from the pomegranate or do you prepare it chemically?
No, it's not extracted. This is a molecularly identical version of urolithin A to the version of urolithin A that you would produce upon drinking a glass of pomegranate juice.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.